walking through a ghost town. Y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You were lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page, but we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay. Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay. Red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. I am Chris, and of course, that over there, that is Mo. Happy Monday to you, sir.
Happy Monday to you, partner, and welcome back.
Appreciate being here, Mo. Let's start with this. Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is 1-6 against top 25 schools since he has taken over the Colorado Buffaloes. You might be wondering, well, Chris, what was the one? The one was his very first game. It was when they beat TCU coming off of their national championships, which, mind you, was not the same TCU team that made it to the national championship, because you might remember that entire team basically left after they went to the national championship game. So we look at this, Mo, and I understand college football, it is a week-to-week business. Teams change on the fly. Players are constantly moving. And you also have to look at this and say to yourself, well, what really are the expectations of the Colorado Buffaloes when it comes to the national stage and top 25 teams? But at the end of the day, Mo, with all the hype, you have to win some of these games, don't you? So since beating TCU in the opening game of that season, they've lost to Oregon 42-6. Now, credit where credit is due. You know, they took number 8 USC, 7-point loss. Number 23, UCLA, 12-point loss. Number 16, Oregon Beavers, 7-point loss. Number 21, Arizona, 3-point loss. And number 18, K-State, 3-point loss. Aside from Oregon, he's not getting blown out by the ranked teams, but Mo, he's also not beating the ranked teams. And we say this all the time, you know, there really isn't any such thing as a moral victory, especially in college football, where your job is to make the college football playoff, especially with how the playoffs are expanding. And it's a little bit easier to get in now without having to be a perfect team. Mo, what do you make of Deion's top 25 record? Is it more about him being him and him just having a team that isn't really built to win these type of games? Or is it one of those things where if you're going to be Deion, you're going to come with everything that Deion comes with? You got to win some big games too.
I think it's all of the above. If you're going to be Deion and everything that Deion comes with, and you raise the expectations, because I remember his press conference, we're going to win. We're going to win. People are going to say, we're not going to do it. We're going to win. We're going to change everything. We're going to change the culture. I think it's all of the above. It's him partly, but it's also that he able to bring in a lot. You look at Colorado on both sides of the football, and they lose at the line of scrimmage on a regular basis. They have 2 spectacular players, and I would say a bunch of guys that are like average at best around them. They're just not built to win. And my thinking was success for Deion, and I'm thinking year to year, would be a steady progression where you get to a bowl game, you win 9 or 10 games, like you progress. I don't think they're close to being that. I don't think they're close to being that at all. And I'm not proclaiming he won't get there. My gut instinct, Chris, is he's not going to be there long enough to get there. He's going to move on. I don't think he's going to complete this mission. They're not going to be in the college playoffs. That's not a spoiler alert. That's just basic reality.
And Mo, it's one of those things where the longer he stays in Colorado and isn't beating top 25 teams and eventually loses his son and loses Travis Hunter in the draft. Because let's not forget, what is this team without those two? That's a whole different ballgame of questions that I don't think Deion wants to find out. Now, I know that Travis Hunter set his price last week. He came out and said, I'll come back for 40 mil. You want to give me 40 mil? I'll come back and play another season. They ain't giving him $40 million to come back play another season at Colorado.
They are not.
He is going to go to the NFL. So this is a team that is going to lose their starting quarterback. It is going to lose their starting wide receiver. And this is a team, Mo, that next season is going to look radically different. And I don't think Deion is built to go through a mini rebuild with Colorado. So I think it's one of those things where he's going to strike while the getting is good, and he is going to look for his next opportunity, whether it is with another college football team or the Dallas Cowboys, and we're going to see what happens. But I agree with you. I don't think we're going to see Deion for the next 3 years as the coach of the Colorado Buffaloes.
He is going to move on from this. I'm not trying to like hammer Deion Sanders, but you pointed it out. When Shedeur and Travis Hunter leave, he inherited a bad football team along with bringing those two in. When they leave, you think Deion's going to be there to bring in the next class and not know what he has in front of him? Like, I don't see. I mean, he was starting from scratch before, but he'd be minus 2 elite talents. I think that at some point, Deion's going to have a press conference and he's going to be upset and he's going to rant, and it's going to set the path forward for him leaving Colorado, right? I'm tired of the way the local media is treating me, this and that. However he frames it, it will open the door for him leaving Colorado. I see that.
Major League Baseball, we got the Dodgers beating the Mets 9-0. That's a great story for those New York Mets, but it's a lot different when you're facing the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'm not saying the Dodgers are going to sweep the Mets, Mo, but I'm also not saying the Dodgers are going to sweep the Mets. But I hope for Mets fans, they win at least one in this series. It has been a great story for the Mets. I'm sure we're off the charts, especially in the New York area for the Mets going up against the Dodgers in the League Championship Series. But more importantly, Mo, let's talk about the real New York baseball team. The New York Yankees start their League Championship Series tonight against the Cleveland Guardians. I'm going Yankees in 5. If you want to watch some real New York baseball, tune into the Yankees tonight as they start their quest to get back to the World Series. But Mo, speaking of New York sports, the New York Liberty are in the WNBA Finals after Boston, which they blow an 18-point lead to Minnesota. They come out and they even up the series 1-1. Mo, it's one of those things. An NBA, you're talking WNBA. This happens a lot in basketball. You can watch it, and as long as you know a little bit about the sport, you can look at it and go, oh, that team's better. And when you watch the Liberty play, a lot of times you look at it and you go, oh, that team's a lot better than the other team. The Liberty are just a better team on paper, Mo. They showed it in game 1 before blowing the 18-point lead. They showed it in game 2 when they tied up the series. Mo, what does Minnesota actually have to do to win this series and become WNBA champions this season?
One, they've got to shoot better from the outside. But more importantly, they have to do what they've done all season long, all throughout the postseason. When Minnesota can be physical, when they can get into the other team's body and slow them down, they're a better team. If it's going to be a grinded out type of basketball game, that favors the Lynx. On pure talent alone, like you pointed out, the Liberty are a more talented, more complete team. It's not even close. But the Aces were too, and they found a way. I'm just saying that the Lynx, a lot of people didn't have them here. I did because of how they play defense, how physical they are, and Napheesa Collar is a bucket. Like, other than Asia Wilson, offensively, she's as good as a player they have in the WNBA. She's that gifted a player. And remember, they're also playing with house because they're not the favorites. They weren't supposed to be there. When you don't have that pressure, all the pressure's on Liberty. If the Liberty come up short, and you can see the anguish in the Liberty's faces when they blew that 18-point lead in game one. Like you were seeing it in Stewie's face more than anybody. She was like, not again, not again. And look, all things being even, I expect the Liberty to take control and win this series. But I still think Minnesota's playing with house money. There's no pressure on them.
Mo, Warriors fans are puffing out their chests 4 games into the NBA preseason because they're 4-0, baby.
Yeah.
Mo, throw the wet towel on it. Throw the wet towel on it.
I don't know if it's a wet towel, but the Warriors would do well to make the playoffs this year. They would do really well to make the playoffs. Actually, they would do really well to make the play-in. They had a better opportunity last year, and that was because by default, because the Grizzlies were decimated. Well, Minnesota's back fully healthy. That's just one more team they can't beat. This Golden State team, we talked about this last season. All runs come to the end. They've come to the end. And the only real question is, are they going to make wholesale changes around Steph to give him one more shot at another run? And the way Dunleavy is doing moves, it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I agree. It does not look like it. All right, Mo, let's talk a little bit of NFL, shall we? Let's start here. I need the Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni to just go away at this point. I don't know if you saw the game yesterday with the Eagles. I don't know if you saw his shenanigans towards the end of the game. There was one point where the camera cut to him and he is arguing with fans in the stands. Eagles fans, not Cleveland Brown fans. He is arguing with his own fans because for the majority the Eagles, because the Eagles were not playing well, and it looked like the Eagles might lose a game to the Cleveland Browns, who, by the way, absolutely suck right now. The Cleveland Browns have not scored more than 20 points this season, I believe, and we'll talk about them in a minute. So take us to the post-game, Mo, where Nick Sirianni is, of course, going to be asked about why he was arguing with fans, and he puts this little smile on his face, and it's just like, I'm just excited to win. And then he gets into it a little bit further, Mo, and he talks about how the players came to him, and the players wanted old Nick back, and the players wanted Nick, they wanted the fire and the passion from Nick. You know what I want, Mo? I want Nick to coach a goddamn football game on the sidelines. That's what I want from my head coach. I don't want my head coach arguing with fans. I don't want my head coach arguing with players. I don't want my head coach arguing with anybody unless it's one of his offensive play callers about what plays should have been called. Like, goals, and can we not worry about everything else that's going on around us? And, you know, I get it because Jalen Hurts came out and said he was one of the guys that wanted coach to be coach again. Jalen, I don't know if you forget what last season looked like in the middle of your 1-6 slide when coach was being coach and all the shenanigans were going on, because it didn't look that great from the outside looking in. So if that's what you want, Jalen, and Mo, maybe this is Jalen's way of saying, hey, we can get Nick out of here. If Nick just beats Nick for a few weeks and we go on like a 3 or 4 game skid, we're going to get a brand new head. Maybe that's what Jalen's doing. Maybe Nick's being bamboozled by his own players here, Mo, because the last thing the Eagles need is Nick just being passionate Nick, because we saw that at the end of last season for about half a season, and it was a train wreck. It resulted in all of his coordinators being fired and him having to have a meeting at the end of the season to basically say why he still deserves a job as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. So if that's where we're going, if Nick being Nick is where we're going, Mo, I don't think he makes it through the season.
So I want to remind everybody that Nick being Nick last year led to Nick having to audition for his own job, which I've never heard of before. He was the incumbent coach, but they treated him like they just met him and like, sit down, Mr. Sirianni, tell us why you should have this job. Like, that's how much they actually think of him. The interesting thing coming into the season, I thought, was I didn't think the Eagles. I thought for sure the Eagles are going to be right there in the hunt in the NFC, but I felt like Nick Sirianni, as a coach in his tenure, he he was just a little bit better off than Aaron Rodgers, right? Because his quarterback, whatever you think of Jalen Hurts, and I'm a fan, isn't going to go the route that Aaron Rodgers would go. And yet, I still feel like the fan base, along with a good deal of the guys in the locker room, I don't think they're Sirianni guys. I just think they tolerate him. And maybe Jalen is doing exactly what you're saying. Go ahead, be you. The more you're you, the faster we get you out of here. At some point, there will be a change. Look, the Eagles came into this season with so many expectations. If they fall short, I don't think he's going to be the head coach next season.
Nor should he be the head coach next season if they fall short. I don't know if he should have been the head coach this season after the 1-6 slide last year. Now you look on the other side of the field and you have the Cleveland Browns, who are not a very good football team. But Mo, they're stuck in this terrible position that they put themselves in, by the way, because they can't do anything with Deshaun Watson besides play him. There's nothing else to do. You can't trade him. It was either earlier this season or at the end of the offseason that his contract basically became fully guaranteed, to the point where any potential wiggle room you had completely went away. And by the way, there wasn't much wiggle room in the first place with that contract. So you can't move him. You don't have an option really to bench him. It's not like you have Joe Flacco, which is ridiculous to say, by the way, but it's not like you have Joe Flacco sitting on the bench behind him to just bring in. So you don't really have a surefire thing sitting there behind him. What do you do if you're Cleveland? Because I don't think he should be the starting quarterback of this team, but I also don't know what you would do with him, because if you how do you bench him? How do you bench a guy you gave all that money to, and then just do you cut him? Is that where we're at? You cut him and just pay him to go away? What do you do at this point, Mo?
I don't think they can cut him. Remember, do you know how much dead cap money would be coming from that? Like, I don't. They're literally they have an anchor around their franchise's neck, and it's called Deshaun Watson. And what is the theme that we've been told over and over again by the NFL genius and others? Marry the quarterback to the coach. I would say marry the quarterback to the coach and the GM. And their GM, what is he going to do? This is his thing, right? Like that anchor weighs heavy around his neck more than anybody's. He's got to ride this out. So of course they're all going to say the right things, right, Chris? We're not going to do a quarterback change. Deshaun's our guy. Well, you have to say that. He's your guy no matter what. But you can't bench him. It isn't even like you have an upgrade on the bench. You don't have that. He is your guy for better or worse. And it's sad because they have one of the better defenses in football, and they are hamstrung by a horrible offense led by a quarterback that I would say, other than Will Levis, is the worst quarterback in football.
That's absolutely wild, by the way, but you're not wrong. It sounds like a ludicrous statement, but you are not wrong. The team is 1-5 this season. You look at the money that Deshaun Watson is making, and you look at the output that you have seen from him. He's completing 61% of his passes, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in 6 games this season. But Mo, it's not just the numbers. It's not just the stats. You watch the football games and he can't do anything. You look at him and where is the guy from Houston 3 years? Where did that Deshaun Watson go? Like, I understand, like, he missed some time. He had an injury. He had the other stuff going on. But this doesn't even they look like 2 different players from what he was in Houston to what he is here with Cleveland. And I understand the personnel isn't exactly the same, but let's not pretend that Cleveland doesn't have weapons around him. He's got pieces. We're not talking about weapons here, Mo. We're talking about him. We're talking about what he looks like as a player. That's been the biggest change. How does that happen?
And it's frustrating to watch him play because after he plays each game, he goes into the press conference. Somebody asked him something that it doesn't seem like a complicated question, but he gets upset when he's asked it. They're like, "Well, how come you don't run anymore?" And he's like, "I'm not a running quarterback." And I'm like, "You're not a running quarterback, but there was a time when you had the opportunity to scramble, you would take off and you would get 10 or 15 yards and get down. Like, you don't have to be a running quarterback to turn a negative play into a positive play. Instead of taking a 5-yard sack, you might run 5 yards and slide, and that's still a positive play." He's literally surrendering in the pocket or just throwing the ball up for grabs. He looks nothing like the player from the Texans, and they won't say it, but I feel like they feel like they were hoodwinked. They won't say it, but I know that's what they feel like. They got.
The Chicago Bears and the Jacksonville Jaguars played a football game this week. The Bears look good, Mo. The Bears are 4-2. The Jaguars are a train wreck at 1-5. I don't know. I'm not saying Coach Peterson's the problem. I think Jacksonville has a lot of issues on this team, but Mo, you know how this works. In the NFL, one of two people get blamed. It's either the head coach or it's the quarterback. And I don't think they're going to blame Trevor Lawrence, although they should. But I think the head coach is probably ultimately going to be the one that takes the heat here at some point. But man, oh man, I did not think it was going to be this bad this season for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And as bad as it has been for the Jaguars, you look on the other side of the field, and I didn't think it was going to be this good for the Chicago Bears. Chicago's defense is stout, and we knew it was going to be coming into this season, Mo. But the offense is good. They have a good offense. At times, Caleb Williams looks like a rookie quarterback, and at times, he looks like he's everything they said he was going to be coming out of college, which I think if you're the Bears 6 games in, Mo, you're okay with that. You're okay with having those rookie moments if you're also getting some flashes of what you thought the ceiling was going to be. And 6 games in, if you're a Bears fan, Mo, I don't think you have any complaints.
And you shouldn't have any complaints. If you're having those rookie moments, but you're still winning football games, you can endure those rookie moments. I would like to remind people, even when he's been bad, their defense has been stout. It's one of the best defenses in football so far. And when the offense picks up, suddenly you look at Chicago and you go, "Oh, that's the team that people thought might be able to compete in the division." They're a competitive team, and you're right. There are flashes where he looks like, "Oh, he's the guy," and there are other times, like I said, those are growing pains. And as long as you can win those football games, I think the Bears are sitting pretty.
Now, the coming into this game, the Bears were allowing 17 points per game on defense. That's their best start to the season since their Super Bowl run in 06. Well, the best start of their season in the last 25 years since their Super Bowl run in 06. They only allowed 16 to Jacksonville, so that number fell just a little bit. But Mo, we would be remiss if we did not point out that despite being 4-2, their 4-2 record comes against opponents who are combined 4-16. So the Bears are going to have to prove it, if you will, specifically against their division. So they're going to have some tough division games coming up, and they're going to have some other games against winning teams. But again, you play who is on your schedule. And in the NFL, the job is pretty simple. You win week to week. Doesn't matter who you're playing. Doesn't matter who's on the other side, Mo, because we've seen a lot of teams with not great records that they show up and they play hard every single week, and they don't give it to you just because you're better on paper or your record is better. So the Bears got to do what the Bears got to do. They're 4-2. That entire NFC North is off to a really nice start. and we'll see where we are another 6 weeks from now. Are we still talking about the Bears with a winning record? We'll see. Mo, also, we had the Baltimore Ravens and the Washington Commanders, another surprise team so far early on this season in the Washington Commanders, except for you, Mo. I believe that you were pretty high on the Commanders coming into the season. Props so far there, sir. It was a good football game. The Commanders got down by a couple of scores. They did battle back. On paper, this should have been a game that the Baltimore Ravens won, and they did. But it's one of those things, as a Commander fan, you walk away saying, sucks to lose, but they didn't run us out of town. We played decent. Our quarterback played decent. They played a little better. If they ever matched up against Baltimore again, which would be in a Super Bowl, so that's a different circumstance right there. But if they ever matched up again, you're not going to walk into that game saying, oh, no, it's the Ravens. You're going to walk into that game saying, we hung with them. Let's see what happens this time around. So there is no such thing as a moral victory, but this is, I think, the closest you're going to get to it, Mo.
No, and look, it's no secret that the Redskins defense, they're not world beaters. So there's a lot of pressure from Jaden Daniels in the offense to put points on the board, which they've been able to do. You're not going to beat the Ravens if Lamar is going off and Derrick Henry is rushing for over 100 yards, point blank, period. So, yeah, there's no moral victories. But when you saw this game on the schedule before the season even started, you, me, even though I was high on them, I'd write that as a Ravens victory. They're the better team. I just come away looking at the Redskins as a team that the future looks bright for them. They've got their guy. He makes some of the same rookie mistakes. Although I would say I'm more impressed with him than I am Caleb Williams. I just think that he's got a maturity and a calm about him that most rookie quarterbacks don't have.
This is a big game for Zay Flowers, Mo. He brought in 9 of his targets for 132 yards. Also a big game for Derrick Henry. This was his 20th career game with 100-plus rushing yards and multiple rushing touchdowns. He joins Hall of Famer Jim Brown with 25, Hall of Famer LaDainian Tomlinson with 25, and Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith with 20 as the only players since 1950 with 20 or more such of those career games. Mo, I saw an interesting conversation about a week and a half ago. I'd love to get your take on it. The topic was Derrick Henry, and the prompt was that Derrick Henry is going to be the last running back to go into the NFL Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow, that's a really good conversation.
Because obviously the talking point here is the running back position has been so devalued over the last handful of seasons in the NFL, on top of the fact that teams are switching to 2 and sometimes 3 running backs per backfield. So even good running backs are not getting the same run that they used to. Add on to that the injury history of running backs, the fact that the running back's career lengthwise is shorter than it used to be. And even running backs who are playing 10, 11, 12 years, they're not workload running backs. They're not getting the bulk of the carries. So you look past a Derrick Henry. Who else is out? McCaffrey? Is he going to have the numbers? Saquon? Is he going to have the number? I mean, if you look at, you have names, you still have names that you look at the running back position who you say, oh, game changer. But then you start looking at their career numbers and you're like, oh, they're not quite there yet. Do they get there? I don't know. Obviously, Derrick Henry is a lock for the Hall of Fame, but Mo, I don't know how many. I don't know how many other locks there are.
In the current NFL, even if you're looking at potential young talent like a Bijan Robinson or somebody of that nature, the thing about being a running back is, and you pointed it out, even if you have an 8, 10, 11-year career, usually by the time you reach year 6 or 7, you're not even the main guy anymore. Not the way the NFL is now. Derrick Henry is the last of a dying breed in terms of being a workhorse running back who into his 30, I think he's 30 now or 31, is still playing at a high level. He is an exception to the rule. And I think that statement, at first I thought that's kind of crazy, but I think it's spot on. It's going to be it. Maybe there will be another great running back who can play 10 years at a high level, but I don't see him in the current NFL. Not right now. I think it's Derrick Henry, and that's it. Everybody else, I wish Bijan Robinson all the best. I love it if Saquon could turn around and have a 5-year run. But the funny thing is, when you talk about a guy like Saquon, he's already like 26 or 27.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna have a Derrick Henry like career. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think whoever came up with that statement is spot on.
All things appear well in Green Bay Packer land. The Packers move to 4-2. They knock off the Arizona Cardinals. Well, let's be fair. Arizona isn't a great football team, but they are a football team where any given Sunday they have the talent and they have the explosiveness to put some points up. And if you can score points in the NFL, you have a chance to win week in and week out. Now, when you're going against a playoff team that, like the Green Bay Packers, obviously things are going to be a little different. But the Packers handled business against a team that they should have beat in the Arizona Cardinals. And Jordan Love looked good. I believe he threw for 4 touchdowns in this game. Romeo Doubs, after missing the week because of whatever he did, he didn't show up. He had some discipline issues. He balled out in this game. He had a great return to the lineup for the Packers. You can't ask for much more if you're a Packer fan than this performance.
No, and the Packers are a good football team. And to your point about Arizona, I know for a fact you're spot on because I watched the Niners get lit up by them in the second half last week because they got comfortable, and this Arizona team has talent on the offensive side of the football. Kyler Murray has looked probably as good as he's looked in a couple of years. Mm-hmm. And then you throw in the weapons that they've added with Marvin Harrison Jr., Connors is a better than average running back. Like, I just think that you're right. If you can put points up, whether your defense is stout or not, you have a chance to win. And that's what they've done. On the other side, if you're a Packers fan, I thought it was a workmanlike win. You were the better team. You came in and you did what you had to do to win the game. The Packers look solid right now. And Jordan Love has looked good on his return. I still can't get over how good the Packers played when Jordan Love was gone. Like, you had to give them all the credit in the world. Like, nobody was going to go, Malik Willis is going to go 2-0 and he's going to actually look like really, really good. Like, it really does go to show you culture, coaching, system matters.
The Houston Texans doubled up the New England Patriots 41-21. I mean, it was the debut for Drake May. I don't know why we waited this long. I don't know why we were looking at the schedule and we said, okay, let's have Houston be the one for the kid. I don't know why he should have started against Miami the week before. I don't know why you're going to put him in there against a Super Bowl favorite in Houston. But to each their own. As a Dolphin fan, we needed that win to kind of keep our hopes alive, to get our season back on track. So I'll take it. But Drake May looked like a rookie quarterback in there, Mo. He did some good things. I'm not going to sit here and hammer the kid.
He did.
But, at the same time, they were playing against a much better team in the Houston Texans. Speaking of Houston, Joe Mixon, I know he's had some injury stuff this year, but man, when he's been healthy for Houston, he's played well. And I didn't think that was going to happen.
Which, by the way, it almost goes back to our earlier conversation. Joe Mixon is 28, 29, and he's playing some of his best football right now, which is a rarity in the NFL. But yeah, look, when he's healthy and he gives them the other element, their ability to run the ball, and they're not one-dimensional with the pass game, the Texans are scary. Mind you, they're still doing this without their best wide receiver, but once he comes back in their hole, they're going to be even scarier.
Now, despite Drake May getting the start, Mo, it did not hide the issues that the Patriots have been having all season, even with Jacoby Brissett in there, which was they don't have great pass protection. There were times where May was running for his life back there and trying to avoid the pass rush because it was getting to him far too quickly. And also the other thing with the Patriots, and there's a handful of teams in the NFL who are like this, you can't win if you turn the football over. There's a such thing as being able to overcome, right? You have a handful of quarterbacks in this league who are overcomers. Patrick Mahomes is one of them. If you've seen Patrick Mahomes' stats lately, ladies and gentlemen, they're not that great. Last time I saw him, I believe he has 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions coming into his last game. He's an overcomer, though. Patrick can throw a couple of interceptions, and it's okay because he can still pull out a 3-point victory and take you down the field when he needs to. Not every quarterback. In fact, most quarterbacks cannot do that. I'm not saying Drake May can't get to that point, but we're not there right now. Not at start number 1, not with that offensive line, not with those weapons. So it's one of those things where if you're the Patriots, Drake pretty much has to play a clean game as far as turnovers and miscues go. And then you still need a few things to kind of fall in place and bounce your way if you're going to win the game, especially against a team like the Houston Texans. But Mo, all of that being said, he didn't look terrible out there.
No, I think that he made some throws out there where you said, I get it. This is why he can have the potential to be the guy. He also has a mobility that Jacoby Brissett just didn't have. Like you said, he was running for his life. If that was Jacoby Brissett, a lot of those plays, those would have been sacks.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Right.
And
so
he did have that 40-yard touchdown pass. Mo, you may not know this. That was the longest completion by a Patriots quarterback in 3 years.
So since Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Not a coincidence.
It's why. Think about that. That's 40 yards. It's not like it went 85 yards, 40 yards. Longest completion by a Patriots quarterback in 3 seasons. That's wild. Wow. That is absolutely wild. The Buccaneers and the Saints. This was like 3 games in 1 here. I don't know if you caught any of this game yesterday.
I know that the Bucs went up early. The Saints walked them down.
Yeah.
It looked like they took the lead.
Yeah.
I think they were up 24-23. And then out of nowhere, all hell broke loose and they got blown out.
So this was a Saints lead at the half. So the Saints score 24 points in the second quarter, take the halftime lead. Baker has a couple of picks. Looks like he's completely unraveling in this game. And then the Bucs come out and they put up 27 unanswered points in the second half, pitch a shutout on defense. And at the end, you're looking at a 51-27 victory. The Bucs dropping a 50 burger on this Saints defense. And it looks like a blowout on paper, but it was anything but that at halftime, Mo. Give Baker Mayfield a little bit of credit here. He is one of those quarterbacks, Mo, where he throws an interception and he just puts the chin strap back on and says, let's get back out there. Let's do it again. Like, he is not fazed by turnovers. He has a bad play. It is what it is. We move on to the next play. He is a polar opposite of Aaron Rodgers. You see Aaron throw a pick, and you saw it. You saw it the last time Aaron Rodgers played. He threw a couple of picks, and the body language changes. The throws start to become a little more safe. There are some guys we just stopped throwing the football to because for some reason it was their fault that the pick got thrown, not Aaron's fault. It's a whole different game. You see Baker throw an interception. He goes right back to the same guy, same play on the next play because he's like, I think we can pull it off. We just didn't get it last time. Completely different swagger amongst those two quarterbacks. And you saw it here. You saw the lead go away in the second quarter. It looked like Baker was coming apart a little bit. And then Baker comes out in the second half and he just keeps throwing it around the yard. And it worked. And they get the 51-27 victory.
I think this is why you and I are on the Baker train. Because Baker Mayfield is just a gamer. He's just a gamer. Like, he can throw 2 picks, go to the sideline, and rather than have his head down, he's fired up. He's mad. I just missed that, guys. Let's go. The next time you run that out, I got you. Like, look, in no way am I saying he's one of the best quarterbacks in football, but you can win with Baker. He's just a gamer. You can win with him. I don't know if I want to use the term he's an overcomer, but he has no quit in him.
By the way, those are adjacent to each other. Those are adjacent. You have to have no quit to be an overcomer, but those with no quits aren't exactly all overcomers. You see it, they're right next to each other, bro. They're right
like
next
that.
to each other.
Like in the same neighborhood?
They're in the same neighborhood. Baker had, or not Baker, the Buccaneers had 594 yards of total offense in this game. And what's kind of being overshadowed here because of the poor second half for the Saints, Spencer Rattler wasn't terrible. Now, obviously, he another rookie quarterback. Tale of two halves for Spencer, obviously. But there were some glimpses in that second quarter where you're like, oh, okay. And then the wheels kind of came off in the second half. Obviously, if you're the Saints, you want Derek Carr back. That's a weird sentence to say. You want Derek Carr back because the offense was better. The offense was better. It was clicking more with Carr. The rookie needs more time, but I'm not terribly upset with what I saw from Spencer Rattler.
I think Spencer Rattler is better than what I thought he was going to be. And I had seen some of his highlights from college. The kid's got some moxie. If we're going to give Drake May credit for showing signs, I'm going to give Rattler even more credit. I would say this. I know he's the backup. If I was Derek Carr, I'd be a little worried.
We talked about the Browns and the Eagles game already. The Colts and the Titans played a game. Wasn't that interesting, but the game happened. Hey, credit to the Indianapolis Colts, Mo. They're 3-3. They're a 500 team. Once again, they're without their young starting quarterback, and they got a backup in there. Last year, it was Gardner Minshew that was in there kind of doing things, trying to stabilize things for the Colts. This year, it's Joe Cool, who is in there doing things, trying to stabilize things for the Colts. It's been, you want to talk about a merry-go-round. Look at the quarterbacks for the Indianapolis Colts since Andrew Luck has left this team. Like you talk about, and people used to always talk about the Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills and the Denver Broncos, between Elway and Manning, between Marino, and you can even still talk about it for Miami because of Tua's injury concerns. For Buffalo, it was between Kelly and Allen. It was a revolving door of quarterbacks until they were able to find the next guy. And the Colts have been stuck in that revolving door. They want Anthony Richardson to be the next guy. They think Anthony Richardson can be the next guy. But gosh darn, Mo, he's got to stay healthy, number one. And they got to find stability at that position.
They do. And I get it. He's a freakish athlete. He's a big man. I think he goes about 6'4". Huge man. But the problem he has is when he runs, and he does take off a lot, he's a straight line runner. He has no wiggle in him. He doesn't make people miss, and he runs upright. He's a huge target. Look, that aside, that he doesn't take care of himself and puts himself in harm's way, that's a problem. But even as a quarterback, with Anthony Richardson, it is the worst kind of roller coaster. 70-yard bomb, 3 picks, fumble. I see a freakish athlete. I don't see the potential for a franchise quarterback. I just don't see it. Sorry, Colts fan. I don't think he's your guy. I think he's the guy waiting for the next guy, but he's not your guy.
So Andrew Luck played all 16 games in the 2018 season. Then he retired unexpectedly. 2019, they had Jacoby Brissett for 15 games and Brian Hoyer for 1. 2020, Phillip Rivers played all 16 games for the Colts. 2021, Carson Wentz played all 17 games for the Colts. 2022 was Matt Ryan's season. He played 12. Sam Ehlinger started 3 and Nick Foles started 2. Last season, it was Anthony Richardson for 4 and Gardner Minshew for 13. And this season, it's been Anthony Richardson for 4 and Joe Flacco for 2. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different quarterbacks since 2018 that have started games for the Indianapolis Colts. That's 11 quarterbacks in 6 seasons, Mo. That's insane.
You know what, though? It goes to show you how hard it is to get that one position right. Think about this. Let's keep it a buck. The Niners did everything in their power to get Trey Lance.
They did.
And that went wrong right away. And they lucked up because the last pick in the draft turned out to be a baller. Just on a fluke. They lucked up and Purdy fell into their hands. But what if Purdy was a typical 6th-round pick and is no longer on the roster? Where would they be? You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? Where would they be?
Sam Darnold.
Oh, well, if he's playing the way he's playing now,
I think Sam Darnold would be your starting quarterback if Purdy was a bust, or Trey Lance would still be there and Sam Darnold would have taken his spot. But it's crazy to think about. Let's talk about the late window of games. Man, the Denver Broncos, they look good one week. They look terrible the next week. They're a 3-3 team. I think this was more about the Chargers defense, which is really, really good. And finally is playing really, really good, despite the fact they had a defensive head coach for the past 3+ seasons, and they couldn't get out of the gates defensively. But the Chargers defense looks good. They pick up a 23-16 win over the Denver Broncos. It was a fast start for Justin Herbert. He definitely cooled down as the game went on. I don't know what to make of Herbert. This is a kid that has like all the talent and all the potential in the world. And sometimes you see it and sometimes it's just not there. I don't know, Mo. People think I don't like Justin Herbert. I do. I kind of wish Miami drafted him initially, but he's inconsistent. He's got a lot of Trevor Lawrence in him. Like, you think the world of him, and then there's just games where you're like, what are we doing? Once again, what I don't understand is the hype over Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix is going to be an average quarterback in this league, but people who are trying to anoint him and say that, I saw a list, and I don't know who made it. I think it was Colin Cowherd. He had a list, and it was quarterbacks in the NFL right now who are better than Brock Purdy. And he had Bo Nix on that list. And I was like, what are we doing? What conversation are we having right now? That's ludicrous. I'm not that high on Bo Nix. I'm sorry, Broncos fans.
I don't know what to make of Bo Nix. I know that Broncos fans want to believe he's their guy. I know for sure Sean Payton wants to believe so because if they have to go out and draft another quarterback, that won't be a good look. So I'm not going to say he can't become a good starter. I just don't know. You bring up a great point. You also bring up a great point when you're talking about Justin Herbert. All the tools in the world. Now, to be fair to him, because Jim Harbaugh is there, he is quarterbacking a ball control offense.
Yes.
They don't want to throw the football that much. Jim Harbaugh wants to play 3 yards in a cloud of dust. He wants to play possession football. When they're able to do that, they win football games. So he's not going to have the best numbers because of the system that Harbaugh has him playing in.
Well, the Pittsburgh Steelers rout the Las Vegas Raiders 32-13. The Steelers are 4-2. I don't feel any better today about the Pittsburgh Steelers than I did 3 weeks ago about the Pittsburgh Steelers because we had the same conversation every freaking week last year, Mo. I don't like the football they're playing. I don't think they're playing football that is conducive for long-term winning in this league. You look at this game, and the running backs had a great day. Their quarterback had a great day running the football. He didn't have a great day passing the football. I think he was like 13 for 22 for $118 or something. No touchdowns, no picks. So he's not turning the football over, which I think is the greatest thing that Justin Fields is doing this season is he is not turning over the football. But Mo, you look at the NFL landscape, and even with the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar can throw the football when he needs to. I don't know if Justin can do that when he needs to. They're building these, and if they keep building these leads through the running game and they're getting out to these early leads, and maybe they don't have to, and they can just grind it out and run, and Justin can run late in games, and that's going to be the way they do it. But I have to imagine there is going to come a point where teams are going to make them throw the football. And I think they're going to be in trouble in those situations because I don't know if they can do that consistently.
And we talk about it every year. How does Tomlin do it? How's he doing it? Well, the funny thing is with Justin Fields this year, he's doing it the same way they did it last year. Defense,
and running the game,
and running the football. Right. Look, I don't think he's bad, but I think I don't look at him as a franchise quarterback. I think what he's done, they don't say it, but he's been a game manager. He's an athletic game manager, but he's a game manager. I think you can win football games. I don't think you can win playoff games. I don't think you can beat the better teams with that style. If they can't get into a shootout, they're not built to be in a shootout. They have a great defense, but what if he throws a couple of picks, a fumble goes the wrong way, and they're down 28-7? Game's over. They're not built to come back. I just, the funny thing is, somebody asked the question, was Russ going to get to play this year? And I said, I'll put it this way. I think it's Fields' job. And as long as they find a way to win, it will remain Fields' job. But I still don't think this is the last you see of Russ. Look, the great thing about sports is they can sometimes give you that fairy tale ending. What if they're 8 wins in and they need to win the last 2 games and Fields missed a couple of games and Russ I'm not saying he's the starting quarterback, but he just comes in and plays well and gets them those 2 wins or whatever. Like, sports sometimes gives you what you want or what you need. I just think in the big picture, if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, those 2 quarterbacks, neither one of them are your future.
And the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mo, have done nothing to avoid a quarterback controversy, which, by the way, we now officially have in Pittsburgh because Russell Wilson was active for the first time this season as the backup quarterback against the Raiders, coming back from his injury, which means either this upcoming week or the following week, he's going to be ready to start if they want to start him, Mo. And the Steelers have done nothing to say that Fields is going to be their long-term starter. They've just been giving you updates on what's going to happen with Russ. They opened the practice window. He's going to be active this week, but he's going to be the number 2 quarterback. Like, everything is gearing to Russ getting closer and closer to being ready to start. Well, what happens either this weekend or next weekend when Russ is healthy and he's ready to go? Now we have to make a definitive choice about who our starting quarterback is, Mo. And I think that Tomlin could have hedged his bet a little bit and just said things like, well, we're going to go with the hot hand.
Right.
We're going to go with, like, he could have been saying those things all the way, and he hasn't really done that. So I don't know. Is Russ going to start this week? We have no indication that he's not.
I feel like in their meetings, the coaching staff are not 100% on board with Justin Fields. Like, I think that maybe the coordinator, maybe the quarterback coach, but I think Tomlin's like, I don't know about this guy. Like, I don't think he hasn't come out and just said what you just said. We're going to ride the hot hand. You can say that and be clean by just saying that. And Tomlin hasn't even gone there. And that lets me know that Tomlin's not sold on Justin Fields.
The Atlanta Falcons put a beating on the Carolina Panthers. Not much to talk about there. Most teams put a beating on the Carolina Panthers. But Mo, how about them Detroit Lions putting an absolute smacking on the Dallas Cowboys? The Cowboys are now 3-3, but don't worry. Jerry Jones has come out and said that head coach Mike McCarthy's job is safe. They are not looking to make a coaching change. Good for you, Dallas.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Say all the right things, but I'm looking at a team that can't run the football and they can't stop the run. And they're one-dimensional in the one area they can go to. The passing it's CeeDee Lamb or bust. I'm going to say it again. I don't know how they make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I said that before the season started. I'm standing on it. I just don't think they're good enough to make the playoffs. Period.
The Cincinnati Bengals get their second win of the season against the New York Giants, 17-7. You watch that game, Mo, and they won. That's great for the Bengals. You didn't walk away from that feeling much better about what they got going on up there in Cincinnati. Burrow had a nice 49-yard touchdown run. That was great, but that was basically it.
That was it.
That was it. So if you're a Bengals fan, you take the win, and there wasn't much to build on, but you're happy you won, right?
It's an ugly win, but you know how we say an ugly win's better than a pretty loss. So I'll take the win.
Mo, not many games in week 6 are must win, but I'm looking at the Buffalo Bills and New York Jets game tonight, and I think this is as close as you might get.
100%.
The Jets, after firing their head coach, changing their offensive coordinator, they've done all these things apparently with Aaron's blessing. Okay, I love how Aaron Rodgers has no say in any of this, but every time there's an article written, they tell you whether or not Aaron blessed the move.
Right.
So you want me to believe that Aaron Rodgers has no control over any of this, but yet every time a move is made, it's with Aaron's blessing, or Aaron supports it, or Aaron's on board. Right. Okay. Because if Aaron had no say in it, we wouldn't be talking about Aaron Rodgers. We would just be talking about the move that was made, and we would move forward. But every time we talk about a move that is made, Aaron was on board with it. Aaron supported it. Aaron's okay with it. Aaron blessed it. It's because Aaron's pulling all the goddamn strings in the New York Jets locker room right now, and the whole world knows it. But Mo, the Jets are 2-3. They need to come out and they need to get to 500. This is a Super Bowl aspiration team right now. Then on the other side of it, you have the Buffalo Bills. And I don't think the sky is falling in Buffalo, but you look at the Bills' 2 losses this season, and Josh Allen didn't play great in them. And you're seeing, and I know a lot of this is based off of their loss last week, but they should have beat the Houston Texans. It was mismanagement by their head coach. It was poor decision-making down the stretch by Josh Allen. And it was all the things that have been kind of bogging Buffalo down the past couple of seasons. And unfortunately, they all happened in like a 6-minute span in the final 6 minutes of that game. The head coach made questionable time decisions. Josh Allen made questionable decisions as far as his play choice to extend plays or not extend plays. And it all came together in a loss. So you have all that narrative for Buffalo coming into this week. You have a Jets team that's reeling from firing their head coach. If Buffalo goes and loses to the Jets, it's a division game, by the way. You're now looking at Buffalo and the Jets being 3-3. The Dolphins at this point are 2-3. So they're coming off of their bye right behind Buffalo and the Jets. They haven't had Tua in over a month. And it's a completely different outlook in the AFC East, where many predicted Buffalo would be 5-1 coming out of this game, or 4-2 at the worst. So I think both need it tonight. I'm taking the Jets.
I think both need it tonight, and I'm going with the Jets as well. But I'm going with the Jets because I'm only going with them because I look at both teams. They have more talent overall.
And I like their defense.
Yeah, and I think this is still a great defense. The problem with the Jets has been their offense. Mm-hmm. So I think that defense gets after Josh Allen. I think they get at least 2 turnovers from him.
That's my whole thing. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game. I'm thinking 21-17, 20-17, somewhere around there. But I think the Jets defense is going to frustrate Josh Allen. And then he's, like you said, he's going to start making the Superman plays. And I think he's going to have a couple of turnovers where you're just like, what are we doing, Josh? And that is going to be the difference in the game. And I think Aaron's going to do just enough. I don't think you're going to walk away from this being like, oh, Robert Saleh was the problem. I don't think you're going to walk away feeling like that. I think you're going to walk away happy as a New York Jets fan that your team is 3-3 and not 2-4.
Agreed.
All right, Mo, take us to a close on a Monday, sir.
I'm sorry, I didn't even hear you.
You're
froze a
good.
second.
Take us to a close on a Monday, sir.
Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
Hey guys, make sure you're back here, same time, same place tomorrow. We're going to break down everything that happened in Monday Night Football. We also got the Major League Baseball playoffs, the WNBA finals. The NBA is in the preseason. This is the greatest time of the year to be a sports fan. There is so much happening. So make sure you're back here for all of that and more. Coffee and Sports, it's the morning show, powered by Wire to Wire Network.